Okay, so here I'm going to show you what I've got out for this stage of the painting. In my bin, so it's a little bit, you can see there's some running there because I sprayed both the sponge and the paper. I don't always do that, but sometimes for the sake of time and just keeping everything kind of pliable, I'll do that, but it does run a bit, so always be careful. I do separate the colors so that darks kind of stay together and don't muddy each other up, and lights stay together as well. So I have black paint, I have an Indocrinone blue, I have a quinacridone magenta, so this is kind of a cool blue, cool red. This is a white, and so my white, just my regular white. This is the matte heavy body gel. This is the slow dry, some cadmium orange, some neutral gray, and then I have the sand, so I'm going to be using that. I did pull out some of this black lava. This is the blue that dripped a little bit, so ignore that, but you can see that's a very pretty cool blue. And then this is black lava. It might be a little too old, but I'm gonna see if it can mix with the sand or if I can spray it with a little water and see if it will go on. It might be kind of nice in the darker area where the drape was kind of dark. So I just thought, well, what the heck? Maybe let's see if it has a little life left in it, okay? So like I said, the first thing that I'm gonna do is take a little bit of white paint. I like to redraw with white and just real quickly redo, kind of get a fine brush and redo the outline of some of the major areas of my keys, at least the fish, because if I'm gonna add some medium, I wanna know, or the fish and the rhino, because I wanna know exactly where the medium needs to be. So I'm grabbing a small brush from my kit here, so a little fine drawing brush. I'm gonna grab a bit of white, and then you can either use water, but I like to use slow dry because there's already paint on there. So once you have kind of the first layers, it's easier just to, you know, keep adding medium and paint. Okay, I'll try to stay close to the speaker, but I'm gonna sit for a moment so that I can look at my source. And again, just to kind of hold, kind of keep that picture, the drawing here, so you can kind of see, again, the original. But basically, I'm just looking for main shapes here. I'm not gonna worry, put a tiny bit of water, that would help it's kind of dried. General shapes, I can worry about details later. So this, if that's the scales, I'm gonna just kind of outline here where I'm gonna put in medium. That was where the quote gill or the fin, one of the fins are. This isn't really a real fish, so kind of needing it there. It's got this, and then bringing it around that way. Okay. Here, again there. Fin in the back, and then the tail. So it looks as though the drawing was pretty close, but I've just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. While I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and add some areas where the drape is more specific, just in case I do wanna add medium back here. Again, this is kind of a situation where you do have to commit to those decisions if you use a heavy body anything. So I'm just gonna kind of redraw what I see, kind of make sure. And then here, these are all glossy, and I don't think I'm gonna set that with textured medium now. I might just paint this area straight, so I'm gonna leave that for now. So I think medium's gonna go here. Let's go to the other side. So that's a good redraw. Grab white paint, slow dry again, and going up to that rhino character creature thing. Here. Now, again, it's not a matter of the facial features or horns or anything. It's really that, you saw that textured part. Right, let's go ahead and pull it back. It's the textured area. And again, if I commit to that having some sort of body on it. Now I did pull out a good chunk of paint, maybe if I was just gonna add some extra colors, like I might just do a tiny bit of that. Even if I don't technically do it, I like to have a little bit out, just in case I decide. Sometimes when I'm in a session, I'm not planning on doing something, and then I'm saying, oh, you know, I really kind of feel like planning out this area or painting out this area. So I do always kind of like having my paint ready to go in that sense. At least some colors ready to go. Okay, and then the drape kind of moves back there, here. I'm also gonna redraw this area to some degree. Okay. Here, and then kind of move it here. Now this is a lot of black drape in the front, and there's a possibility I want to texture that as well because there's so much of it. I don't know, we'll have to see. Okay, let's start with the first thing that I talked about, which is adding medium to an area and then using a textured tool. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I like to scoop it up. Now, I showed you earlier on, or in other videos, how I have these kind of random kitchen tools. So this comes really in handy when you're applying medium. I'm gonna use the Heavy Body, okay, matte. It is a Heavy Body matte gel, and you can see I'm putting it on. You can see that. I'm gonna pull this a little bit closer, but I'm putting it on almost like I was icing a cake, okay? So I'm using this knife, I'm kind of spreading it out. Now you could spread it out with a brush too. You could use a palette knife, whatever you want to do. But kind of spreading it around and putting it on very thickly, as you can see. There we go. And I'm gonna basically cover this entire area in the back. You can see how thick, again, see how thick that is? Okay, that's how much medium I'm putting on. Again, matte Heavy Body gel. I'm then going to switch over to this tool that has the kind of the little forking in it, okay, and create a pattern. So maybe it's a directional pattern. So I'm going to go kind of rake through lines. Now, every time I do that, medium comes off. So I take it and I wipe the excess onto my palette, so I only have grooves where I want them. Okay, so I draw into it there, and then maybe I can change the direction as well because I'm kind of looking in front of me and there's various directions. Now I'm not matching exactly what I see. I'm kind of doing a directional line that I like, but then adding that. Okay, once I do that, I do have to be careful to let it set. So I hope you can see those grooves. I'll move it to the side, but I have a texture here and I want to let it dry, let it set, and all I'm going to be doing is scumbling color into it. I'm going to leave that for a moment and I'm going to move over to here and I'm going to add, now so for the little gill things that we saw texture on, I'm actually going to go for the natural sand. Okay, and again, I'm going to put it on very heavily, like you can see. Just really a lot of it. Very careful about where I'm placing it. Okay. Here. Okay, and then going back with my tool again to kind of create, really shape it and create a texture there, okay? You can see with all of this, I put it on pretty heavily. I'm going to use that tool and create little peaks on it. That's kind of what I'm doing here, is little kind of spiky points, because the natural sand doesn't have that, it doesn't stick as much. It kind of moves around. It's a lot softer. Okay, so what I'm doing is just kind of poking this so it gets little peaks in it. And I'm going to go with that texture. It's not a one-to-one. It doesn't match the fish exactly, but it kind of gives the idea of the fact that there was a relief texture there. Truth be told, you can also go ahead and you can also make the acrylic paint stand like this too when it's all said and done, and I'll show you how to do that. But you can add little peaks to it so it has a texture. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that there in this section, kind of a natural stand, little bumpiness that gives me something to build on. I like to stay uniform a lot of the time. So if I use, if that's similar in real life, then this is similar in real life, so I want the textures to be the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the natural sand over here as well. I'm just using the fork now to add it on. A little bit of the black lava got in there. Okay. It's a little easier on this side to kind of give it that peaky look because it's a larger area. Okay. And there we go. Kind of just actually just like that. Okay. So I want to add texture, but I want it to be a little bit different than the other one. Maybe I'll just go back like that there. Take a little bit of it off. As you start using mediums, you kind of get used to the, what works, what doesn't work. It wears too much, wears too little, so on and so forth. So you see I have texture here and texture here. The last thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to put it over on this side because we have a lot of black area, is I'm gonna see just real quick if this black lava is workable. If it's not, I'm not gonna use it in my piece and ruin it. So this is also a good example of when a medium is just a little too dry. Well, it's fine. So I'm actually gonna go ahead. It's not exactly as it should be, but it does have a little bit of a sheen, which I kind of like. So I'm gonna kind of cover the dark area with this and actually just let it kind of blend into the paint when I paint. That actually might be kind of nice. And it might be good once the other medium is dry to scumble on top because it's got, as you can see, it's dried out a little bit. It's not exactly what it should be. So it's got a little bit of a texture to it. It's a little sticky. It's kind of gummy. So it might actually work in my favor. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go with it, put it on there. And at this point, you can also use a little bit of water and a brush to kind of move it around. That will help it be less sticky. So I'll show you how that works. Again, this is a black lava. I kind of picked this up at a studio sale type thing or kind of an estate sale. And I can kind of move it around. I'm letting it be not uniform here, so just kind of in areas. It's just kind of an abstract texture, okay? So the water's helping me kind of clump it around. Okay, so I'm not worried about it following the shape of the drape or anything like that. I'm just kind of adding, it's like a little bit of a extra visual appeal. Okay, and shine, it's got a shine to it. That's kind of nice. Okay, so here we go. Cover that up. And then let's move over to here. Okay, and move it, put some of it on this side. Looks really nice on this side, actually. Okay. Go ahead and put it there. Okay, there we go. It's gonna be some fun, just little added, like I said, added visual excitement to this piece. We'll kind of blend in with the paint. We'll go ahead and paint on top of it and I'll show you how that works. Okay, you see how it kind of grabs some shine, some fun. It's like adding little bits of glitter. Okay, so for these, you really have to let those dry. This, I'm gonna go ahead and paint into it right now because I'm just playing around with it. I don't need it to dry in a specific way. Again, if I had, the black lava wasn't so dried out and it wasn't so gummy, I probably would have put it on very solidly like I did here. But since it's not, It's not entirely where it needs to be. I'm just gonna kind of do it like that. Now for the black area of the drape, I'm not actually gonna go for a full black. What I'm doing is creating kind of a deep purple and adding black to that. It's just a richer color. Let me show you real quick. So I have that cool blue, a little bit of the magenta, and then I just dab some black into that, and that makes it so it has a temperature. As you see when I paint that on, okay. We don't get a solid black. It's a little dark in the room now and there's a little shine, but it's not really a solid black. It's almost like more of a dark violet, which is much prettier. That way too, when I'm articulating what's in light and what's in dark, I can play around with cool and warm when I do it. Okay, so if this is the darkest shadow of the drape here, okay, and then there's a little bit of light hitting this black area, what I can do is add a baby bit of white and then some red, okay, to the black, okay? And that's gonna actually warm it up slightly. And change, it kind of changes. It makes it so the black looks like it's undulating a bit more, okay? So with black, you kind of don't want to paint it straight black. You want to give it a little bit of a color, okay? You want to adjust it slightly. If it's a little too bright, you just want to see more black, less violet-y, I can always also add some neutral gray. I put that to the side here. Pull that in. Oop, right here, some neutral gray. And that's kind of like gonna add, that's gonna make it, instead of adding white, that's gonna kind of dull it down a little bit to make it more of a blacky gray color. So kind of painting that, it's leaning violet, but again, when you're working with stuff like this, color is relative, and so as the painting progresses, it will start to read more black as I add the other colors, so on and so forth. I'm also a big fan of just kind of letting color shine, you know, so start with, especially with acrylics, start a little bit brighter and then kind of dull it down as you go, because acrylics do dry dark and you don't want to get in a situation where your just colors are dull and dark and you can't really get out of it, okay? Let's see, that behind here was a little bit darker. Sorry, neighbor dog, barking. And again, lighter on the red side here. Okay, kind of pulling that up. I'm just enhancing the red a little bit. Okay? And I'm just playing with color right now. This is not really the final version. I'm just kind of color balancing, seeing what I want. Can't really do much until this is gonna start to be painted in, okay? So I'm playing with the darks there. And then I'm gonna go to this side since I have the, quote, black mixed. Okay. Dog is really playing with its toy. You get a Yippee Dog soundtrack on this one. Okay. Okay. And then sometimes to add water and just let things build up a little bit. Okay. My dog has been so pleasantly quiet here in the last one. My dog's kind of funny because when the neighbor dog barks like that, he at first wonders if there's something to be concerned about. My dog doesn't really bark much, or talks. And then realizes there's really nothing going on. It's like, oh, I was just yipping at nothing. And then ignores it. It's funny. Initial concern, and then like, oh, nope, here he goes again, playing with the bowl. Okay. Okay, so you can see I'm just kind of laying out this area, blacks, maybe how it's gonna look. Not too specific. Again, I kind of like the shine. I don't want to cover up the lava that I put in there. It's shining through a little bit. And it's an old medium. It's not gonna do exactly what I want it to do, but it's good. Okay. And that's pretty much it for now. It's gonna sit like this. I'm gonna let it dry. I did pull that orange out to maybe put on the fish slightly, just to see how I like the color there. Maybe I'll just run a little bit on top for now. But I'm really not gonna go that far with it. Just put a little bit of orange on here. Again, kind of color matching, but I really need to kind of save that for when this dries a bit. So not really at that stage. Probably put the orange out prematurely. Okay, there. Okay, just kind of seeing how it looks with the violet, or also balancing color. Probably gonna put, these are actually blue when I look at them. We'll kind of figure out as the colors evolve how I want that to work as well. Okay, that is all for now. I will wrap up this video. You see me, and I'll wrap up this video, and then the next segment will be, again, I'll say this in the closing as well, but the next segment will be how you really kind of finish up a piece like this. And that is all for now. As you can see, there are so many things that you can do with acrylic paints and mediums. They are very, very versatile, and it's the advantage sometimes of using acrylics over oil paint is that you can create a variety of effects and textures. And yeah, so you get kind of a range. It's not just for abstract work, it can be for representational work as well. It just depends on how you want to divide the spaces. Do remember, if you carve something out and add a texture, if it's a very heavy medium, something like a sand or a heavy gel, it's hard to remove. So you definitely want to plan it out beforehand and kind of commit to it. If you're adding it just to the paint and maybe creating a fur texture or building up kind of a foliage texture, and you're okay with letting that kind of end up, I don't know, just end up how it ends up, or letting it, willing to follow the direction of the medium itself, then that's okay. You can just add the paint to that and kind of let it grow and flow, as they say. Okay, well, that is all for now. Happy painting, and I will be back with you soon.